the moment we're joined with Brian Goodhew, and we're talking all about the Medway Queen and the Medway Queen Preservation Society. Brian, what was the role of the Medway Queen in the war?
Well, of course, during the 30s, it was just the usual routine that she was doing. And of course, as the clouds of war was approaching, all these little ships were being taken away and converted into other things. Medway Queen completed her last season in 1939, and she went up to Deptford Creek, which is as good as it sounds, and she was stripped of all her ornate mahogany and all that beautiful woodwork, and she was painted a horrible grey. She was armed. Well, when they say armed, what on earth do you put on an old paddle steamer that was already quite elderly? And so they found an old 12-inch gun, which had last seen action in the Dardanelles. On the paddle boxes, they put a machine gun, a Hotchkiss machine gun, and that was made her classed as armed. She was then classed as a minesweeper, and she joined other minesweepers in Harwich. Now, unfortunately, the North Sea didn't agree with the Medway Queen. It was a small ship in bad waters, and she had to go into dry dock into Chatham Dockyard. Then she joined the flotilla in Dover, sweeping the Dover Straits, and she was joined by Brighton Belle, Laguna Belle, the Gracie Fields. Guess who launched that one? And these ships were converted all into minesweepers. They didn't know quite what they was going to do with them, because unknown to them, Dunkirk was getting a bit of a problem. They all reported to Sheerness docks, and all these old elderly swan-like ships were sitting there, and they got orders to go to Dunkirk. And as they went out of Sheerness Harbour, or Sheerness docks, it was known to some of the dockies scratching their heads and saying, well, if we're going to win the war with these old things, we might as well give up now. Throughout the night, they went across to Dunkirk, and they approached there at dawn, and of course they didn't know what they were going to expect. I mean, the cook was told to get a few sandwiches ready, and as they come in towards the sands, they thought these were rocks that was coming out of the water, and as it got lighter, it wasn't. It was men, and these men have been standing in water sometimes up to 2 or 3 days. Anyway, they soon scrambled them aboard, and the cook, he had to swing into action. He put on cauldrons of tea. He had these ravenous creatures queuing up the galley door, and they went backwards and forwards 7 times in 9 days. And Mr. Russell, the cook, he proudly, in his mind, was proud of the fact that all these people that come aboard at least had a mug of hot tea and a wad, which was a lump of bread, and probably a bit of marge. Well, it was marge, there was no butter then. She went backwards and forwards. Each time she went across, there was something happen. Don't forget, she went across only under the guise of darkness. The only contact with the mothership was by Aldous lamp. But of course, they took a bearing by looking at the Dunkirk oil fields, which was alight, oil refinery, which was well alight, so they could zoom in on that. But the waters was full of wrecks. It was difficult to get there, but they did. And they just rescued 7,000 people in all the time they went over. One time they went across and the funnel caught fire. Many of you people will remember chimney fires. Well, of course, the funnel caught alight, and this presented an ideal target for the stookers to dive in on. But lucky enough, they went up the funnel, chain gang, and poured buckets of water while the ship was full ahead, and they poured water down the funnel and put the fire out. And all kinds of things went on there, right to the last time she went across. After the sixth time across, Winston Churchill didn't want to be seen to desert the French, so they sent not only the Medway Queen, they sent a few ships back to Dunkirk. Now, Dunkirk was expected to fall at 2 o'clock in the morning, so she was back there alongside the famous mole at 12 o'clock, and she took on about 400 French. She was being guarded by a Royal Naval ship, and of course once again she'd come under attack by the Stukas. This plane, it dropped a bomb right alongside the Royal Naval ship and lifted the ship right up in the air, and then as it come down it was smashed against the Medway Queen, which smashed against the mole. She was posted as missing. That was the end of the Medway Queen. But as in all good old British movies, next morning at 10:30 in the morning, she come into Dover looking very weary, very battered, and she hopped into come into Dover, and all the other ships in the harbour all sounded their sirens and whistles in salute. And Admiral Ramsay, he signalled, "Well done, Medway Queen."
And we are joined with Brian Goodhew, and we're talking all about the Medway Queen and the Medway Queen Preservation Society, some of the history as well.